The main Oscars takeaway? Hollywood is as scared of the world right now as you and I are. The Oscars ceremony on Sunday night was long and boring, as it has been for a few years, but this year its shortcomings landed differently. Hollywood's waning influence, which registered most glaringly last month in the large number of American nominees who showed up in London for the Baftas, not something they were inclined to do in better times, gave the ceremony a sense of low-stakes irrelevance that was frankly a relief from the rest of the news cycle. Still, the question lingers as to why the actors and presenters largely, and mercifully in my view, stayed away from mention of Donald Trump. After the devastating wildfires in Los Angeles in January, the classy thing to have done this year would have been to cancel or at least radically downsize the Oscars ceremony, but of course no one involved was going to vote for that. Instead, audiences were treated to a muted spectacle celebrating movies with record-breakingly small box office returns, including The Brutalist, in which Adrien Brody relived the U.S. postwar construction boom in real time, and Anora, one of the lowest-grossing best pictures of all time, about an exotic dancer who marries a rich Russian. What could be behind the deep and abiding fascination of straight male directors, and novelists, and podcasters, with the sex worker community? That's right, it's altruism. In 2017, in the wake of Trump's first ascent to the presidency, there were many fiery speeches from the Oscars podium, among them Jimmy Kimmel's opening monologue, which was dominated by Trump content, a defense of immigrants led by the actor Gael Garcia Bernal, and the director Barry Jenkins entreating those in need of help to reach out to the ACLU. This year, by contrast, there was almost nothing, a decent Anora-related joke by the host, Conan O'Brien, about Americans being excited to see somebody finally stand up to a powerful Russian, the actor Zoe Saldana referring pointedly to her immigrant parents, and some criticism of the U.S. government by the Israeli-Palestinian team behind No Other Land, the winner of Best Documentary. If it's cowardice, it's not of the ordinary kind. At the 2017 Oscars, there was a running gag about Meryl Streep and Trump premised on the then popular idea that Trump was a big dummy who fluked his way to the White House. That tone doesn't work now. In fact, given the five-alarm fire of American politics, comic flippancy about Trump has to be calibrated more finely than the broad, bland platform of the Oscars is perhaps designed to accommodate. There is also the question of Hollywood's role in the collapse of the Democratic vote. This is probably delusional thinking, but there may have been a grain of humility, or at least of self-interested awareness, in the decision by wave after wave of Oscar-winning actors on Sunday not to use the podium to make political points. Looking back at the Kamala Harris campaign, which relied heavily on A-list Hollywood support, the conviction that celebrities swing votes, or win hearts has never been less popular or assured. Some in the auditorium on Sunday may even still be in recovery from the failure of Time's Up, remember that? A dog's breakfast of a movement in which Hollywood's leading ladies leveraged their fame for an admirable cause that somehow ended up with Amy Schumer mugging for attention on the Capitol steps. I feel for public figures in a way, damned if they do, damned if they don't. After Sunday night, the film industry looks craven and weak, on the other hand, as Ricky Gervais memorably pointed out when he hosted the Golden Globes in 2020. You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. No one needs Adrien Brody's thoughts on anything outside acting, and even that, let's face it, is a drag. And yet, given the customary willingness of actors and directors to espouse political causes, the silence on Sunday has added to the clanging, baffling sense in the U.S. of, where, exactly, is the dissent? Why aren't people screaming? J.D. Vance and his family did have to be moved to a secret location while on a skiing holiday in Vermont last week because of the numbers who came out to protest. Perhaps all the Ozempic in the room had made people lightheaded. Perhaps the lack of politics was pre-gamed. Producers said ahead of the ceremony that the telecast would